What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Easy Button Investor Podcast. I am your host, Cole Ruud-Johnson, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Nathan Robbins. He is the most famous guy that you probably do not know. I'll put it that way. He doesn't have a big social media audience, but he has a big audience. He's been a pivotal key piece in my journey of me being where I am, and I'll go into that. And today's episode is one all about your network. We talk a lot about on the show that people scale faster than anything, and your only true resource. Money comes and goes, opportunities and deals come and go. Relationships, when treated right, handled with care, last a lifetime. So without further ado, let's get right into the show. With where you are at right now in your journey, if you had to look back at the beginning of, obviously you took the big risk and Taro provided that opportunity and you leaped at it, you got to be aware of what that could be, and there's risks there, and you made the jump. If you could look back at Nate over the past 8 years, 9 years since that went down, however long it's been, and to see kind of the network you've built, what do you think are the 3 or 4 traits that someone listening to this could take and go, man, if I wanted to become best friends with Brandon Turner, if I want to fly around and play golf with Kim McElroy and Robert Kiyosaki, if I want presidential candidate speaking at my event, right? Like, what are some of those, you think, traits and attributes that have benefited you? And if you sit there in peace and quiet, go, okay, that's probably why this is happening.
Well, I have several ideas, and I think that could help somebody in that arena. I think for one, I'd like to think of myself this way, and hopefully this is true and people experience this. Like, I'm genuinely interested in people. I'm a little bit of an outgoing introvert, so there's a kind of time when I kind of like hit my limit and I maybe get a little short with people, but I'm generally interested in people as a whole. And I'm typically thinking, I'm not perfect all the time, right? So I'm not like extra special in any way really, but I'm also trying to think of like how to add value. And so it's like, I'm always listening like, oh, I know somebody who could do that. Or, oh, hey, have you thought about this or whatever? And sometimes it's just like something as simple as like giving somebody a compliment, like that can go a long way. But like, I generally care about people. I think this is good for businesses, right? Anyway, right? So we kind of collaborate or connect quite a bit on like off market stuff and like wholesaling and things like that. It's like the people who are really good often care about the people they talk to. So when you're showing up to a client meeting, it's like, hey, I generally care about the solution for you. Yep. I'm not just here to try and get a paycheck. The money's a secondary thing. But I think if maybe I could take it like a little bit different, if somebody was trying to expand their network or improve their network, what I would say is that number one, it's okay to pay to be in the room. I think there's a tendency early on to like say, well, I should just get this for free, or they should just like me or just whatever. But most people are in their own world. Like right now, you're thinking about yourself in this situation, right? You're not thinking about other people that maybe want something from you. You're thinking about your world, your business, your relationships, your family, your things like that. And so most people aren't even thinking about you. And so it's like, okay, well, how do you get on the radar? How do you even put yourself in the room? And so sometimes that means paying for it. Maybe you join like a Better Life, membership, where you're in the community, or paying for a mastermind, or you're paying for an event. Maybe you're paying for a VIP experience. Maybe you're paying, like I know at Limitless, we auction off speakers and different experiences with speakers. Maybe you cough up the $6,000 to go down to Malibu.
I want to clarify. I want to clarify exactly what you mean by what a VIP experience is for you, Nate.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, the VIP experience that we've had is different. The VIP, like it's a higher ticket price where it gives you access to like a catered lunches with the speakers and more high level people, right? And so you may pay $1,000 to come with a ticket, or you could pay the $3,000 to get you like a private lunch, a more private area to engage with like a Kiyosaki or any of the speakers coming to the event. I know like with we're working on a VIP ticket. Now, this is not to sell Limitless, but there's a higher VIP ticket price that will give you like an excursion with some of these higher level people, right? And so I think number one is just put yourself in the room, however you do that, and at whatever level you can afford, right? I think number two, and this is something that I want to go back to like our first encounter, and this takes a little bit of intentionality, but think about how you can add value. So like, who do you want to know? Like if I wanted to meet Cole, take a minute, go through his social media, think about what value can you add to Cole, right? And so you're coming armed with like, bro, hey, I've noticed you're doing this, no obligation. I did this for you. I hope it helps. Let me know if I can, do anything else for you. Like if somebody came to me and was like I have 3 videos I need to edit. And then they're like, oh, hey, I see that you're constantly talking about needing to edit videos and things like that. Like, I can do that for you. I'd give you 3 video edits for free. Let me know. Boom. I'd be like, dude, you're amazing. Let me just talk to you all the time. So kind of leading with value and going with that mindset versus kind of what you were saying early on, like, hey, what can you give me? What can I get? I think this is one of the things you did really well and have done really well, especially early on. And I think you still do this now, especially even with like your content that you're putting out, is that you lead with value. So when you talk to me, you were nervous, you were sweaty, you stuttered a little bit, but you're like, hey man, I got it. It was cute. I wish I could have recorded it. I wonder.
I was sweaty. I was on the treadmill.
Yeah, I don't know. All of a sudden, I was on the treadmill. I was doing my workout, and I turned over, and this kid was staring at me, and I was like, oh, "This is weird."
Like, who is this weird? Yeah, you can be weird, right? You can be weird and still build a network. That's for sure.
Well, but the thing is, the thing that separated you from being just a normal weirdo, was the fact that you were like, "Hey, I have this off-market system that is kicking butt. Would this help you? I'd love to show it to you." And I was like, "Oh, that's exactly what we need. We need to improve that." And so it was like this extreme value. And then I think you even threw in like, "Hey, I got this deal right now. Do you guys want it?" And I think we talked about this later, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you cut down your wholesale fee on it.
So I'll hit on that. So yeah, I got 2 of the things I was thinking while you're going through that was listening and value, right? I think one of the reasons I built the network I have, like, I remember I went back to, I always tell people when they go, "Oh, how'd you get invited in the Bigger Pockets podcast?" It was like a 5,000 person waiting list. And I did it at Brandon's house live in Maui. And really the reason is because I just listened and provide. I never asked. Like, I don't think that's the way you get stuff. And a lot of people, when they get in a room with someone they want to know, they sit there and talk about themselves for an hour. And the person on the other side is going to go, "I'm so turned off. Like, I don't need to talk to you again." It's being quiet and listening. Because if you want to get to know someone, a lot of the times it's because they're better than you at something, or you want to learn something from, or you admire them for something a lot of times. And just listening and providing value, to Nate's point, right? His point of, "Hey, I have this deal sourcing machine that would benefit you guys." But the reality, what I actually did strategically when I was younger, when I was 19, 20, 21, is I would find really good deals. And then I would take less money to partner with people on those deals so I built a relationship. And there was a deal specifically right before the Maui Mastermind in Lacey. I don't know if you remember the deal, Nate.
I do.
In Lacey, Washington. It was a pay-per-click lead. I could have easily made $45,000, $50,000, maybe $60,000 in an assignment fee, but I went, this is in their territory. This is the time to use this to get my foot in the door. And of course I reached out to Nate and Tara when I said, "Hey, what do you think?" And they said, "This is awesome." I said, "Let's partner. I'll take 20 grand up front. You guys flip the house. We'll split. I'll take a portion of the back end." But that way I got a lot of car rides with them. I got to know them. And when I was in those car rides and I was sitting there, I would, 1, ask a lot of questions about them, not just about business, but about them. 2, listen. And 3, provide value wherever I could. And 90% of the time listening, 10% of the time talking. That's how I always think about it. And it wasn't very strategic in the moment, but and honestly, I wasn't even thinking of, "Oh, this is going to lead to that." But that's what led me to getting invited to the Maui Mastermind. Was we built enough of a relationship where they said, "Hey, you're probably not qualified for this." But I remember Taro called me midday one day. He's like, "Hey, I shouldn't be invited to you this." At the time, he was right. You're probably not qualified. At the time, he was right. But if you want to spend the $5 or $6 grand on the ticket, the plane tickets, the hotel, come. And I remember I opened up my Bank of America app. I remember this vividly, and like 22 grand in my name. You know, we were running a not very profitable business. I was 19, 20 years old. And I was like, "Oh shit. Okay. Well, this is half of my net worth to go to this event." And I did it happily, and it changed my life forever. So I think that story is a great example of, you have to bring value to the table and you have to actually listen. And those 2 things got me a long way, to your point, Nate.
And the thing that you did, though, you repeated that process at the Maui Mastermind. I know you went down and you talked to AJ, you did Charles, like you talked to all these guys, and you're like, "Hey, I can do this for you. Let me help you." No expectation whatsoever. And then all of a sudden we're like, "Who is this kid? He's the oldest, youngest kid we've ever met. How is a 50-year-old stuck in a 20-year-old's body? It makes no sense."
It's a compliment, or
you did that, but you just repeated that process. You got in the room and you're like, "I can add value here. I can add value here. Would you want me to do this? I do this." And you kind of took the initiative, and all of a sudden you were everywhere and doing everything for everybody, which just bought you so much goodwill and favor. And now everybody loves Cole. And so I think it's having that mindset of like, how can I add value? And then just being curious. Like, I have to say this story. This is actually funny. I was down in Vegas a couple months ago, and I shouldn't say it unless we want to post it and tag him. Okay, so love him or hate him, I sat right behind Chris Crone, and I'm like, oh, like I follow the guy. I like a lot of his stuff. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do here? I got to say hi. I can't just miss this opportunity, And so I botched it so bad, boys and girls. I botched it so bad. I got up and I'm like, hey, Chris. And he's like taken aback. Like, first off, bad approach. And he's like, yeah. I was like, love the content. Thanks for what you do. It was awkward. It was terrible, bro. Terrible. What I should have done, and this is like, you think about this after the fact. So I was in the middle of this fitness challenge. Dude is jacked. Dude is beefy. And what I should have done is said, man, bro, are you working out, man? Because you're jacked. And I should have just skipped the whole idea that you're famous, all this I should have skipped all of that and just gone straight into fitness, because it's also something that he's posting a lot about and is very interested in. And I could have just been genuinely interested in that aspect of it. Now, I'm not saying we would have been best friends, but it would have been a much better approach than like, hey, thanks for the content. Oh God, that was terrible, bro. So anyway, don't listen to anything I'm saying. I have no idea what I'm doing, but lead with curiosity, lead with value. I mean, you do that really well. So just do that. And then there was one other thing, but I've gotten distracted now. So don't be afraid to be in the room and just take the intentionality to be more focused.
I think one thing you do too very well, that when we're running businesses and life gets busy and we have families and we all get chaotic and busy and that's kind of life, is you do a very good job checking in on people. And I think that's another big thing, you guys out there like that. And that doesn't mean every single day, a phone call every other week, a phone call twice a month or once a month, and a 15-minute conversation is how I keep a lot of my close friendships going. Like James, I talked about earlier, like 11 p.m. one night a week, we probably talk for 2 hours from 10 p.m. to midnight, right? And that's kind of the flow. Like, people are busy. This does not mean texting and DMing and talking to them constantly. A lot of times it's spaced out, but it's intentional and you're checking in on them. And Nate does a great job of that. He'll check in on me quite a bit. I try to return the favor. I'm not as good at it as he is, but that's a superpower. You'd be surprised how little effort most people put into their relationships, right? In terms of checking in and spending time and asking questions and genuinely caring and following up. Hey, you told me that you're going through XYZ last time we talked. How are you feeling now? How are you doing? Well, I went through a very chaotic health period in my life with Lyme disease in my early 20s, and Nate and all these guys were constantly checking in, right? And that's really at the core of it, is your network that you build, and you guys can build a really cool life with 20 close people, and they don't have to be your best friends, but 20 people you can rely on. And I like to, when I explain it, I'm like, if everything stopped today, your business stopped, your finances stopped, you had nowhere to stay, nowhere to go, how long would you be able to live, based on the people around you? And the goodwill, it's really what it is. It's building goodwill at scale. And that's what grows businesses and helps you through issues. And when you don't have that, it's a really lonely and scary place. We lost a guy in the real estate community that I got to know really well this year, Artem, who was a big time real estate developer. And he was pretty introverted. He would go out, he was on Twitter. He built a big audience for himself on Twitter. We'd text back and forth, but he wasn't an over talkative guy. He's not really going to talk through a lot of his personal issues most of the time. I think a lot of us, when we're in business, we really isolate ourselves. What you forget is everyone's going through similar issues. And so going out to events, going out to masterminds. I have never spent $1 on a mastermind, a course, or an event, or not courses I have, a mastermind or event that I've regretted and not gotten a return on. Because meeting one or two people each time that become business partners, friends, mentors, whatever it's going to be, is that compounds over time in a way where you build this Rolodex of relationships that compounds, and it's goodwill compounding over time. So Nate, anything this kind of flew by, anything that you want to leave the people in listener land with as we kind of wrap up the episode on the theme and concept of building your network, what that does for you, how you approach it, anything else that's top of mind for you that you want to transmute to the audience?
You can do it. No, I think it's relationships, I think, are some of the things that are real wealth, right? And so it's funny. I was at an event and this guy comes up to me and he's like, "Dude, who are you? Like, what do you do?" And don't ever ask this question. This is so off-putting and so rude. He goes like, "What are you, like, just like super rich? How much money do you make?" I was like, "What are you doing?" And then I thought for a second and I said, "Bro, I am the richest person you will ever meet." And you can see and I was like, right now, if I never made one more friend, I obviously will, but if I never made one more friend, I am the richest person in the world because of the friends that I have right now. broad spectrum. Like my life is full because of my friendships. And so because of that, I consider myself the richest person on the planet. And you could see his brain just kind of like, going out of control and stuff. And so it's like, I honestly think it's the experiences that we have, it's the relationships that we have, it's the communities that we have are the real wealth. Like why, like, so what, if you have $1 billion tomorrow and you're by
you
yourself,
want to hang out with, it's terrible.
and if nobody likes you, and if your friends don't like you, or if your family doesn't like you, if your kids don't like you, like, what do you have?
And that's why I think the suicide rate's so high for entrepreneurs and business owners is because, the quote I like a lot is you build the company, you build the wealth, you're worth $1 billion. But then everyone in your life is like, yeah, but like we never asked for that. And I'm not saying don't dream big, but on Nate's point there, you don't want to be like, you never see a hearse carrying a U-Haul, right? Like there's, but what you do see is the people that show up for you in that season of life when you pass and they're celebrating your life. And I fully agree. Like there is a lot of meaning and purpose. I think most of the time, once you get to a certain number of wealth and dollars and opportunity in business, if you're lacking community, it gets very hard to keep going, to stay inspired, to stay motivated, even just to keep pushing. Right. Because a lot of us, if we're not intentionally engaging with people who are like us, which is very rare. If you listen to this podcast, you're probably a little bit of a weirdo, right? If what you think about is business and your car rides, you're listening to me talk, on camera and on my microphone rather than, listening to music or whatever, and you're interested and you're growing, you're developing, you're living a different life and you want to be around other weirdos that are also focused on business and whatnot. Yeah.
I mean, by all means, crush your dreams. Make $1 billion. That's fine. And then you can fund all my deals. That's fine. I'd love that. But the real wealth, I think it really is coming down to community. It's events, or like it's those memories that we make, not at events, but like it's the memories that we create together. It's the relationships that you have. It's encouraging and building up each other. I think that's the real wealth. And I think that should take as much intentionality as it is like, everything you talk about, business systems and processes and all that kind of stuff. And like it's equally as if not more important. And so like one of the things I tell people all the time is that like, you've said this, that like people would die to have my Rolodex. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I can understand that. But like if you were to strip away the wealth of all my friends and all their accomplishments and all their books and all that kind of stuff, they're just some of the best people on the planet. And so like, I wouldn't care if they didn't have what they have. I like them as people. And so I think that's the other amazing part about this whole thing is that like, yeah, they've done some cool things and they have some cool things to their name, but really at the end of the day, they're just my friends. And I really like them a lot. And so go build your community, build relationships, see how you can add value, and your life will change because of it.
100%. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for sticking around for another episode of the Easy Button Investor Podcast. Again, we had Nate Robbins with us today. Again, the most famous guy that's not famous. I'll put it that way. As always, you guys, we don't put paid ads behind the show. So you telling a friend, a family member, posting on your story, which a lot of you have been recently, is how we grow. And also we don't sell you things on the show, right? It's pure value and helping you grow your business. So until next time, as I always say, you are only one deal away.